Thank you. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. First bill for our consideration is House Bill 2 Engrossed Fast Track Permits Act. It's sponsored by Representative Filer, which Representative Filer, please talk to the committee about your bill.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Representative Lee Filer of House District 44. Folks, I bring you Fast Track Permits Act, fastest bill in the legislature. Okay. All right. What this bill does essentially is few pages in the front here. First few pages is about the definitions, how you get a permit for building permits, towards those things. And then when you get into the meat of the bill on page 5, it kind of gives some deadline notifications for municipalities and building departments to give some notification to the applicant, which the applicant would be the builder. That way they're in constant communication. They understand what needs to be done in order to turn in a full permit process to where they can actually approve a permit. Also gives some deadlines for the municipalities and building departments for a notification to have it complete within those 30 days. There's a few other parts in it too, some accountability. So right now, a lot of the accountability falls on the applicant when you pull in a building permit, but there is no real accountability when it comes to the building departments. They could sit on a permit for as long as they want. Even if you've passed everything, got everything done, there's nothing to say, hey, go ahead and start building, because there's nothing in statute that allows that. They can just sit on it for whatever they want. So there is some parts in here about the accountability. That's why we want to get some deadlines in there, because you have a lot of builders that, they turn in their application, everything's good, but there's no guaranteed time when you're going to get your permit. So you're lining up your contractors, everything like that, and you got people sitting around waiting. I think this is another small, tiny piece, Mr. Chairman, just to help start getting more houses to the market quicker. That way it lowers the price of homes, especially in my community. We've been in a shortage for a long time. And a lot of these contractors, when you talk to them, the burden a lot of times is just the beginning process of that permitting process, of not knowing when they're actually going to get the permit. So this kind of gets some good guidelines. I worked with the municipalities, county commissioners, builders, everybody I could to work on this bill, because I brought it last year and there were some hiccups about timelines. So I throughout the whole interim, that's all I did was work with them to get this bill to where it was something that they all could work with. We all came together on this bill. With that also, it does have, once it goes through the planning process and you have a building permit issued to you as the builder, say you're building your project to the specs, exactly what was approved, and say there was something missed by the planning department. And you have an inspector come out and say, oh no, that window needed to be a little bit bigger. And now you have to go back to your engineer, have it redrawn, resubmit it. When that happens, there is a 10% kickback fee back to the builder, because that's going to cost them money, because they have to do their jobs, the accountability part, when they apply for the permit. But we also want to hold the municipalities accountable too. And they're okay with the accountability part also. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would answer any questions you have.
Okay, who has questions for Representative Filer? Any questions? Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Filer, allowing the deadlines to be suspended, I'm trying to understand how individually or as a group across the state. Could you explain that more?
Representative Filer.
I'm sorry, hard to hear.
Do it again, pull in closer.
You, in your opening statement, you talked about this as well as in the bill, you allow the deadlines to be suspended. They handle it on an individual basis, or this is just a broad stroke across the state?
Representative Filer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Senator Dockstader, it's going to affect 13 different building departments across the state, where it makes it all even the same way across. There is a shot clock in there on timeframes. So say there's 30 days to approve a permit. If there's something that is not complete within the application, it stops that clock. So that way that clock doesn't just keep running on them, because now it's up to the applicant to do their job to make sure they provide all the right information. But what it does is it does create where it's streamlined across all 13 different building departments across the state of Wyoming. So if you're a builder and you want to go build in Natrona County from Laramie County, you know the process is going to be the same. So that way you can always plan accordingly, if that helps.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick follow-up.
Of course.
And I'm sure we'll hear from our friends in the municipalities, but everyone good from the large city that we're sitting in to my little towns of 500 out on the west side of the state? Everybody's comfortable?
Representative Filer.
Senator or Chairman Case and Senator Dockstader. Yes, that's why I worked with the municipalities and County Commissioners Association, all those folks, in order to make sure all those concerns were taken care of, even at the smallest building department.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Representative. Who else would like to testify? Wham, would you like to testify on this bill? I assume the counties are going to be here too? Who's going to lead us off? Ms. Harpstreet.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ashley Harpstreet. I'm the Executive Director for Wyoming Association of Municipalities. I stand here before you today in a very kumbaya moment. We have worked very hard with the bringer of this bill since you guys gavelled out last session. While there are a couple things we're still kind of working through, and I'll let my two friends to the left of me discuss more of the intricacies of the bill. I think that we're in really good shape, and right now all 99 are on board. We don't want to be the barrier to housing development. We want to make sure that we can do this in a predictable manner when developers come into our communities. We're also working really hard. The Senate helped us with an amendment on the budget for funding for a digital permitting process. So we're trying to figure out every way we can to be business ready and turnkey ready in this arena.
Any questions from the committee? Let's go down the row. Who's next? Mr. McLaren.
Like Ashley said, we've been working with the sponsor over the last couple of months, and we're good with the bill. It's got some provisions in there. If the application is incomplete, it stops the clock. So we think it's workable. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. McLaren? Let's go to Mr. Agopian.
Thank you, Chairman Case. Nick Agopian for the Wyoming County Commissioners Association and also for Teton County Board of County Commissioners. I would echo what Ms. Harpstreet said. We have worked with the sponsor throughout the interim to bring the bill that's in front of you forward. And it's one of these bills where I think we found the NZ principle, where we are well past 80% agreement on this bill, and nothing's perfect. And I have the great fortune of sharing the part where we didn't agree, because we want to make sure that we share that. And it's paragraph G on at the bottom of page 7. And this is what I would call the right to construct without review of the permit.
Yeah.
This bill creates an opportunity to move these permits more quickly. We think that it does so in a thoughtful manner. Even G itself does acknowledge paragraph D, which is, I think, what Senator Dockstader was asking about the extension of timelines. We anticipate in most situations, the vast majority of situations, that there's going to be good communication between the permit applicant and whoever's issuing the permit, whether it's the county or town. And that's what paragraph D does address, is that you can extend those timelines on written agreement. But under G, the notion of issuing the permit without it being reviewed and stamped is a new principle. It's not a wholly new principle. We see it in the DEQ with our air quality permits, where we're achieving a federal standard, a statewide standard, where you have a permit called permit by rule. You attest that you're going to install and meet the minimum standards going forward, and it's an administrative efficiency for operators, administrative efficiency for the DEQ. This is new, I think, in the housing context, and that's probably where we didn't find agreement, is on the value of G, the idea that you would want to construct without having that signed permit. But what we're hearing is that isn't an issue for builders that are looking at this bill. We don't foresee that we're going to bump up against that 30-day clock very often. This bill anticipates that when you submit your building permit, you have already gone through the appropriate zoning, and done your appropriate grading for your lot. And so it's only the review of the vertical construction, and doing that within 30 days does seem very reasonable. What paragraph G envisions, I think, is a very narrow set of circumstances that isn't likely to come forward in a lot of cases, but that is where we fell apart. And I think we would share that with you. We do appreciate greatly the effort that the sponsors put into this bill, and we will leave permitting better, I believe, with this bill going forward.
Questions for Mr. Gopian? Who wants to? Mr. Gopian, so would it be fair to say you prefer that you not have the section G?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we would certainly prefer not to have section G, but we do envision the opportunity to work around it going forward in the majority of permitting situations.
Right. And when you say we, you're talking about the counties.
Correct.
The cities don't have a position on G, or I'm trying to understand your kumbaya.
Mr. Chairman, I would think at this time, we don't feel as threatening. We believe the mechanism is in there for stopping the clock. I know my planners might feel a little bit differently, but holistically, we don't want to jeopardize the bill over that provision.
So the counties are out on their own on this.
A little bit.
Kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience like to testify on this bill? Let's fill out the chairs if you wouldn't mind. Just by way of housekeeping, we're going to stop this hearing. We have two bills. We're going to stop this hearing, hard stop at 9:15. We're going to have a confirmation hearing. So think about that. Make it quick if you can.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Lindholm, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tyler Lindholm, State Director of Americans for Prosperity here in the Cowboy State. We're on and in favor of this piece of legislation. It's a solid piece of legislation. I would support keeping G in place. I guess I think that's the mechanism of the bill that does kind of is a handshake approval between the legislature and a pro-business growth type of policy. We're a big fan of it. We think there's a lot of merit in having it. And I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Mr. Lindholm? There was a rumor going around this morning that you had an encounter with law enforcement last night.
Mr. Chairman, I did. Mr. Chairman, they invited me to dinner.
There you
That's
go.
the first time for everything. Listen, I was nervous, Mr. Chairman.
And that's the extent of the whole thing. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Kelly Little. I'm with the Associated General Contractors of Wyoming. Standing in support of this bill, I'd just like to commend the bringer for working very hard over the interim to get this to a point where all parties seem to be agreeable to it. I will mention that it is only for residential construction, so that's not commercial, not any other kind of construction. So, our hope is maybe in the future we could continue to have these conversations around all kinds of permitting just to keep streamlining the process and making it easier for all parties involved. And with that, I would stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Rennie McKay, President of the Wyoming Business Alliance. And we have been touring the state the last year, talking to businesses in every county. And a refrain we just continued to hear was workforce is the biggest need for businesses in Wyoming. And a component of that is certainly housing. And so really, I think we have entered a moment in time when there is a more significant need for housing that our workers can afford on their paychecks, and that our businesses can then hire more people. So really appreciate you taking this up. I think that's why we're probably trying to be as innovative as possible. I will just say that, at the state level, the zoning protest petition that you all passed yesterday is a really valuable tool. Most of the tools are at the local level to deregulate and reduce cost. And there aren't very many building departments. There's only the 13 around the state. The other communities don't even have them. So this is just an ability to create certainty. One of the dynamics that I've been following is I think we had a period of time where builders in Wyoming or builders in the region were choosing to go somewhere else because it was actually, I think they found it to be a better environment to build homes elsewhere in the region. And now I think we're starting to see it. The municipalities are really making some changes so that it is easier to build denser and bring down the cost per door. Just want to just say one of the reasons I think why this is so important is the carrying cost of a project is significant. We estimate from talking to builders that are members of mine that it's about $1,000 per $100,000. So if you're trying to build a $300,000 home, which is about where you need to get for a market-based affordable home for somebody, you would have a $3,000 per month cost every month that you're in delay. As a builder just has to hold that cost when they're trying to get something built. So just offering that certainty of 1 month, I think it does reassure folks that are trying to make investments about where they want to spend capital to build homes. So just really appreciate you continuing to look at housing. I know spent some time last interim, and now you did it again this interim. And I think we just need to continue to innovate because this is an issue across the whole country. And the more we can be competitive around the U.S. and around the West, I think we can attract more talented workforce here. So thank you, Mr.
Question for
Chairman.
Mr. McKay. Thank you, Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McKay, you represent a business organization. We're focusing on houses here, residential. Would it ever be possible to step this up for our business communities across the state?
Mr. McKay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Well, I would say, having been in the policy world a long time, you always do want to try to find that NZ principle. And so I think that it's something to keep an eye on. But I do want to applaud the Senate for passing that the funding for the system that would help on that, because that would apply to commercial and business permits as well. So I think hopefully that will speed up the process as well. And I will just say most communities, there's not an issue going past those 30 days, but transparency and consistency is going to be really valuable. And I hope that we'll just achieve that with that investment that you all made in that technology system. But I will definitely let you know if it becomes an issue and we need to try to find more kumbaya moments.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. McKay. Anybody else in the audience wish to testify? Anybody else in the audience? Anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, Melissa Ruth has registered to testify on this bill.
Okay, we've got a gentleman in the audience. We'll get him and let her in at your convenience. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director for the City of Cheyenne. I just wanted to echo support of this legislation. This is a great opportunity to make sure that everyone has some clear expectations throughout the state when they do submit their building permits. We've had a lot of good work with Representative Filer and Geringer on this bill, and I appreciate everything they've done to put this together. And the way it's been presented is one that really works well for the community in the state.
Would you mind saying your name and affiliation again? A little slower, maybe?
Sorry, Charles Bloom, City of Cheyenne, Planning and Development Director.
All right. Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Bloom? Questions. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Online?
She's been promoted, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That's not her. Hello, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Melissa Ruth. I represent the Wyoming Planning Association. I won't repeat a lot of the things that have already been said, but we do appreciate the time. We've spent a lot of time with Representative Filer and the sponsors of the bill, trying to get this to a workable place. So we appreciate the amendments made in the House. But we do also, as the Wyoming Planning Association, echo Mr. Agopian's comments on removing Section G, the auto approval of a permit. We can work with the bill without it, but we would prefer to see that removed solely based on the practicality of implementing and enforcing that provision. It potentially sets a dangerous precedent where you are approving buildings without a permit, which could create more confusion down the line, and also recognizing that this is for just residential construction. And with that, it's single family and small scale residential construction. So this bill does not apply to those larger scale apartment complexes and things like that, where you may have a more lengthy time frame. With most of the communities that I've spoken to, planners in various communities across the state, I would say all but maybe a handful, one or two are approving building permits within those 30 days. So this isn't something we see coming up often. That's again why we feel we can work around it, but we would prefer to see it removed if you are open to that amendment. So I will stand for any questions.
Would you mind restating your name and your affiliation just a little slower?
Yes,
Yes,
Melissa,
oh.
Melissa Ruth, representing the Wyoming Planning Association, or WyoPass.
And the last name is Ruth?
Ruth, R-U-T-H.
Okay, thank you very much, R-U-T-H. Any questions for Ms. Ruth? Thank you, Ms. Ruth. We appreciate your testimony. Is there
Thank you.
anybody else online? Anybody else in the audience want to testify? Last chance. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Doherty, here on behalf of Cicero Action and FGA. I'll be very brief.
What do those stand for?
Foundation for Government Accountability. Cicero Action is just that. So, Mr. Chairman, for much of my career, I worked as a planning director. I will tell you that I've also worked with Mr. Filer and some of the other stakeholders here. Appreciate the process, but I want to let you know that I don't think there's any advantage to removing Section G. As a planning director, it's ultimately up to the architect to make sure plans are compliant with applicable codes, and jurisdictions can make those deadlines. So I want to just tell you, would really urge you to oppose removing G, because I don't see an advantage to the homeowner. I don't see an advantage to the jurisdiction. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience? Not seeing anything, nothing online. Committee, you've heard the testimony. What is your pleasure? Got a motion by Dockstader. Before we get into discussion of the bill, I'd like to disclose that I'm a licensed general contractor in the state of Wyoming. And I intend to vote on the bill. I don't really see a connection, but it's kind of a bigger picture thing. So certainly people are willing to challenge me on that. But anyway, I want to disclose that. Discussion on the bill? Any discussion? Would anyone like to tackle the G section? Not seeing anything on that. Jessica, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for House Bill 2. Senator Boner.
Aye.
Senator Dockstader.
Aye.
Senator Landon.
He has left a proxy vote of aye.
Senator Steinmetz.
She's excused.
Chairman Case.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 4 aye, 1 excused.
Thank you very much. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 22, Recall of Elected Municipal Officers. And just by remind of housekeeping here, we, no matter what, we're going to have a hard stop at 9:15 and take up a confirmation here. Representative Heiner.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity of being in front of your committee. Appreciate your time and effort here. I bring you House Bill 22, which started in a small community in Wyoming where they had some issues with some of the elected officials. And even though they had more than enough people sign a petition, there's no viable way to be able to remove an elected official in a municipality. Our statutes, which were written back in the 1900s, allows for removal of an elected official in a town government that is ran by a commissary form of government, which back in 1920 was the last time we had a commissary form. Everybody's converted over to a town council and a mayor. So there's no way to be able to remove an official at this time the way it sits. My original intent was just to pull that out of the commissary form of statute and move it into another section that it would apply to mayors and town councils. But then the House decided to update some of the election laws from the 1920s and get it more current. So that's why you have the engrossed version here. But just walking you through the bill, before I go through the bill, I just want to read an email, parts of an email that I got from a constituent, actually not a constituent, it's part of another district. It says, many residents felt frustrated and powerless. Numerous community members reached out to Cheyenne, including the governor's office, attorney general's office, secretary of state's office, the DEQ, and even the DCI to seek help and explore possible remedies. And so for a small town, there was nothing they could do. That experience showed us how limited local options can be when serious concerns arise. And so I've had numerous letters and emails of support from throughout the state. I thought it was just a problem in my district. Turns out there's a lot of areas in the state that has similar issues. So, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I'll walk through the bill really quick.
Please.
Page 2, it says the community members need to sign a petition, at least 40% of the registered electors that are entitled to vote for the officer sought to be removed. And each petition shall only pertain to one elected official on line 6 and 7. Line 9 through 10, it says the petition shall contain a general statement of why they're trying to remove them so that the elected official knows what the charges are. Turning over to page 3, lines 1 through 2, no person shall be paid to collect signatures for petition under this section. That's pretty evident there. Line 4, within 10 days of filing the petition with the clerk, then those signatures will be verified by the clerk. And many towns don't have the election rolls, so this pulls in the county clerk because they have those election rolls. The county clerk will verify the signatures and confirm with the governing body, and those costs will be reimbursed to the county clerk for verifying those signatures. And if all those signatures meet with that scrutiny, then end of page 3, a date is fixed for holding a recall election in accordance with election provisions. And that election shall be held between 30 and 40 days from the date that those signatures are verified. Middle of page 4, a recall petition shall not be filed against an officer until the officer has served at least 9 months in the term. So that's to prevent any retaliation if someone loses the election and immediately files a recall petition. And also, you cannot try a recall petition within 6 months of the next election, so we don't waste our time when there's only 6 months before a general election. No more than one recall election can be held against the same officer during the same term of office, so you can't do it repeated times. One shot at the apple and then you're done. And then line 18 of page 4, if the majority of the votes are in favor of removal, the officer is removed from office and the office shall be deemed vacant. And then you go through the regular vacancy statute to replace that individual through the statutes that deal with vacancies. And then on page 5, we repeal that section that's in the commissary form of government. So this is the engrossed version. The only thing that I would ask the committee to look at is this 40%. The original statute calls for just 25%. And as the committee members know, for a ballot initiative, it only requires 15%. But the Association of Municipalities asked for a 40%. And I've been hearing from many larger cities that is unattainable. The turnout for the primary election for the past 20 years has only been 30%. So to achieve a 40% signature rate and not be able to pay people to go out and get signatures, it basically makes this bill so it doesn't do any good. It's pretty tough to get 40%. So I would ask the committee to consider moving that back down to what the original statute was 25%. With that, I'll answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for the representative, Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Heiner, I've spent a few decades sitting through town council meetings in my other life. I've seen people mad, very mad, but I've never seen an effort to recall. They just simply take care of it in the next election. Why do we specifically need to move recall into the process? And I sit through, I have a town of 500 up to 5,000. What are we doing here exactly? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Hyde.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Dockstetter, I think most of us have followed what's been happening back in Illinois with that, the super mayor, she called herself, where she got into office and raised her wages up to $367,000 a year and spent an exorbitant amount of money on the town. It's called a village. The village's credit cards going to spending a lot of money. She's under investigation right now, but there's nothing that the town could do. For 4 years, they complained. They went to town councilmen meetings, but there's nothing they could do until the next election. And she was up for re-election, and she didn't get very many votes to stay in. This is to prevent something like that. And there's a small community, there's a number of small communities that have had issues like this where the mayor came in and would not renew the firefighters' contract. And it took many years to resolve that issue. So this is not something that's not contemplated to be used very often. But in the situation that may arise now or later, it provides an avenue to be able to take drastic action if needed.
Anybody else? Anybody else? I'm not sure I'm really persuaded by something that happened in Illinois, but.
And if you may,
Representative Heiner.
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Mayor,
I'm glad I'm not.
Mr. Chairman, the town of Opal, this is where it started. They tried to get something happening there, and the majority of the voters were in favor of doing this, but there's nothing they could do. And they went to the county attorney, and the county attorney says there's nothing you can do. And I don't want to go into all of the specifics about what was going on there because they're alleged, they're not proven facts. But this is the nexus where this came from, is the small town of Opal.
Okay, Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, since we're talking about the nexus to Wyoming, I think there's a issue in my district in the town of Evansville, not to go into any detail because I haven't talked to both sides, but suffice to say there's controversy in that municipal government representative. Have you heard about that? Is there anything you'd like to share about what you may have learned about that situation in the central part of our state?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Senator Boner, I've received support for this from all four corners of the state. I didn't realize it was more widely spread than I thought. I thought it was just one town in my district, but I've got support from many areas. I've had, actually, when we presented this in the House, there were some municipal officers that presented and testified in favor of this.
Okay, anybody else for the representative? Anybody else? Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would one of the co-sponsors want to visit? No, we're good. Mr. Secretary, would you like to address us on this bill? Welcome. How you doing today?
Oh, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You doing good?
Doing all right.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Chuck Gray, the Wyoming Secretary of State. I would like to testify in strong support of this bill. This has been an issue throughout my time in the legislature. Now as Secretary of State, I was privy to the Opal situation, the Evansville situation, witnessed all those. There have been way more situations across the 10 years that I've been involved in the Wyoming State Legislature where individuals have been very upset that there has not been the capacity for circulation of a recall petition, which is very common in the Western United States, but there is no procedure for it in the state of Wyoming.
For municipal offices.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that this is very important in getting the voice of the silent majority. And oftentimes the silent majority does not get heard in these situations, and it gives a voice to the silent majority. I think we should lower the 40% threshold to 25%. to make it a little bit easier to attain the necessary signatures. But it's just so important that this is out there for accountability, for getting the voice of the people, and it's administratable. I'm very confident in that. Our office would help the local county clerks, and I feel that it's very administratable. So I'm in full support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Secretary? Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Secretary. Have a great day.
You too.
So we would, next we'd have to have, let's have Wham representing, and then we'll have the clerks, since they are doing the administration. Is that all right?
Mr. Chairman, members of
Go
the
ahead.
committee, Ashley Harpstreet, Wyoming Association of Municipalities. Thank you for having us for today. We are very much in support of this bill. We think it's a great discussion to be had. I just forgot my book, but I have all
You can
99.
do this.
I know. I have 99 municipalities in my book that shows the population from 0 to thank you. All the way to our largest at 65,132 people. And so I very much appreciate the sponsor taking up all of our amendments we brought on. The reason we came up with that 40% number, and I hear his concerns about the larger municipalities. I just want us to all think about holistically. My friend here from Albin that only has a couple hundred, so he could have a house party and get recalled real quick. So with 5 relatives in his town. So we just want to make sure, I'm open to talk about the number, but we don't want this to be retaliatory in nature. And we want to be mindful of the cost of elections. A lot of the elections in the normal cities or, mid-sized cities and towns, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000. So I think the testimony from the clerks will be really important because most of our municipal elections are in conjunction with the county clerks. We've been trying to compile all the information with our membership of who actually holds their elections versus who's working with the county clerk. So the devil's in the details on that back end. But with that, we just stand in support.
Okay. Anybody else with your group and any questions from the committee? Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Max Mickelson and I'm the mayor of Rock Springs. And I'm actually very excited for this bill and very strongly support it. I recognize that 40% is a large percentage for a community of my size. On the other hand, if you're going to overturn the will of the voters, there should be some very strong motivation. And I think it is a good percentage. I like the bill the way it has been amended, and I'm very much in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor of Rock Springs? I might have one. So let's just throw the 40% out there. It seems likely that the actual voting participation in the election was near 40%, maybe less than 40%. So having a higher bar potentially than actually voted in the last election, that seems a little onerous to me. So more thinking about that, I appreciate your perspective.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. When you look at how our municipal elections are constituted, our wards for our councilmen have about 4,000 folks in them. And then if you go down to the registered voters, it drops even further. So you're looking at a threshold of 1,000 people. And typically even in a low turnout year, we have more voters that show up than that percentage. I would be very concerned for our small communities. My family, they're all from Big Piney and Kemmer. And I mean, if someone's unhappy in Big Piney, 40% works out to 200 about folks. If you drop that percentage down to 20, and having had to make decisions for my community that were not necessarily popular, I would be really pressed to understand how someone in an elected municipal position could make the choice that is right for their community. And maybe we haven't explained it as well as we should have. And folks are very upset about that and recall you. I think it would really inhibit our ability to function appropriately and make the decisions that really move our communities forward. I don't know if there's some mechanism where you could set a threshold where, you know, if a city is under 5,000 people, it's a
Gotcha.
different percentage. And if we're a larger city, it's a high, you know, however you would work that. I certainly think there's some opportunity there. Given the diversity of population sizes in our state, that probably is appropriate to add an amendment that separates them out. I would be very alarmed if we dropped the percentage just across the board to like 20%, because it would really inhibit our ability to do our work. On the other hand, I very much support there being a mechanism. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very thoughtful. Ms. Harpstreet.
Mr. Chairman.
Attention again.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, this is why I have my handy book. We have 19 first-class cities and the threshold for that would be 4,000. So I think potentially by statute, separating a threshold between cities and towns. When he's referencing Big Piney, that's 395 residents. So they would need a higher percentage.
Fair enough.
that makes
Committee,
sense.
jump in if you wish. Ms. Harpstreet, so there's the issue of the size of the town, but I think a back issue is also the size of the district or the ward. You know, they kind of both come into play, and I'm open to ideas, but thank you, Ms. Harpstreet. Back to the mayor of Rock Springs.
Sorry, Mr.
You know,
Chairman.
you're cutting out your other mayor.
I know, I'm a chatty Cathy. When our wards do have populations where 40% is obtainable, speaking as the mayor, 40% is, I mean, if 40% of the registered voters in Rock Springs signed a petition to recall me, I'd just resign because I clearly have screwed up so badly I shouldn't be there anymore. So that is certainly something you should consider as well.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Committee, Kelly Crickle, Mayor of Alvin. And I'm in favor of the bill. I think we got some bad actors out there. We need to get it taken care of. And I like his response is splitting it. Because the problem we have in a small town like mine, we have low turnout too. But the last election, we had 20 people. You take 20% is only 4. Well, it don't take much. Like I said, one good party and you can have it. But my concern is the recall. I don't have to worry about getting reelected or my council. But the big thing for a small town is the cost, because we run our own election. Now we have to go through the county clerks, and this here can add up to a lot of money for 4 people wanting to do it. So I kind of like the threshold of splitting that out. So, you know, it could be a concern to small communities. That's what I'm here to stand. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for all 3 of you. Do we have any unintended consequences there? I've sat through a lot of meetings, heated exchanges. I recall one meeting, we had a timeout so people could go out and have a verbal exchange in the parking lot that you could hear inside. And yet 2 or 3 meetings later, they got it all smoothed out. Could we have a situation here where we're going to have recalls where maybe we just need a little more time to work things out? A question for all 3 of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Harpstreet, you want to lead us on that one?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a very thoughtful question and one we're trying to put our arms around, and appreciated the sponsor reaching out to us right away at the beginning of the year to think through this. We do agree there's probably some fallout from it, and we're trying to work through the process because we do think it's an important bill. But the retaliatory piece and the timing of the elections, I think, is what we could answer your question with that, and with the clerk's help in making sure we're not putting this additional burden on costs and figuring out where is the right and appropriate time to do the recall. But I think a knee-jerk recall, the guardrails we put on for it's got to be after 9 months that they've been elected. So someone can't be upset they didn't win the election. And then it's X amount of time before another election. I think that's super important. So I would defer to the clerks on how we can work through that.
Thank you.
Okay. Just gonna throw something out so people can think about it. I appreciate the thought about different standards for different cities, cities versus towns. You know, saying 40% for towns, 20% for cities, or something like that. But I think that's potentially challengeable on an equal representation kind of challenge. So I'm not quite sure, but I'm wondering if another way to do a standard would be a percentage of the votes cast in the last election for that office. And I'm not sure how that would work. I'm just throwing it out there so we can all think about it. So we have a little time to think about it before we vote on this bill. So I put that out there. So anybody else? All right, let's hear from the people that actually got to do the work. Welcome, Clerk Lee. Welcome, Ms. Langford.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Senators. I'm Mary Langford, and I have the honor of representing the county clerks of the state of Wyoming. And with me at the table today, I have the Honorable Deborah Lee, who is the Laramie County Clerk, and she has extensive experience in administering municipal elections, as well as dealing with verification of petitions in her former life when she worked in the Secretary of State's office. So she can help us through this. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to discuss this today with you. The county clerks have not been included in the development of this piece of legislation, and therefore we have some concerns specifically related to specifically to the administration of the election and the proposed bill here, but also to deal with specifically petitioning as well as timelines and those types of things. So in the interest of time, I do have like 14 items that I was going to talk to you about, but I want to drill down on the two that are most important to us.
Please do.
And they have to do with on page 3, where it talks about verifying the petition. This would need to be changed so that not all of those requests at the request of the governing body where it talks about that, county clerks verify petitions as we have WildReg, which is the voter registration data available to us. Town clerks don't have that information available to them readily and would not be able to verify petitions. So that's going to put that work to the county clerk. We've got and we also have the signature data that they would need for their petition. So we would have to verify those petitions. So with that, we've identified about 5 amendments that need to be on page 3 if we are going to do that. The second section of this, and to talk about the verifying of the petition, there is a standard. A petition generally is generated from the county clerk's office for a petition process that goes on. There's also the verification of the circulator that needs to be included with that. So the person that is collecting the signatures will be able to verify that, yes, these people signed in front of me. So they can do that. That's part of that petition process. When the petition then is received by the clerk, then it goes through a process associated with WildReg. So that would all go to the clerk, would not be something that the city clerk or town clerk could do. The first, or that on page 4, where it requires you to hold the recall election between 30 to 40 days. This also, and then it refers that it also is in accordance with the election code. Those two issues conflict because we don't have enough time to publish a proclamation. We also don't have enough time to post ballots for 45 days ahead of the election, which is required by the statute, as well as to issue absentee ballots 28 days ahead of the election. So we don't have enough time to do the election if we're going to do it in 40 days. We need more time. We also have no direction on publication in the statute, or in this proposed bill. So we'd need more time for that. To be able to fix that on page 4, I have 7 proposed amendments.
7.
This would also require that all recalls the proposed legislation would require that all recalls would be done in accordance with May, August, and November, which are the standing election times that we have before. And the one example I thought of as Mayor Mickelson was talking earlier is that if you had a person, say, that was elected in May to be on the town council, they can be challenged in September, okay, or October. right in the middle of general election time
Mhm.
for other elections. So there needs to be some work done on more on when these elections could happen. We have nothing to say about the fact whether we should have recall elections or not. That's a policy decision and a decision for this, for this body to make if they want to do recall elections, and we could do them. But we've got to be able to fit them into the existing format that we have. We've got to have direction on publication. We've got to have direction on, notice and those types of things. Again, we'd be talking about testing and auditing too. That would be included in that. And then we also have charter ordinance elections, which are the little towns that the town clerk does her own election,
Right.
as opposed to some of the other bigger elections, which are on the county ballot. So they come in November, and there's issues with that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to offer this.
Otherwise, you like the bill very much.
I don't know. I think we should talk about recall. I like that part, and how that would go. I think there's probably a place for that. But as far as how we can administer the election, we need a whole lot of work on how, to get the schedule set up, get it married to the election code as it exists right now. We have plenty of good statutory language in there for initiative and referendum, which is the petition process that we have. And we've worked lots, and this, we've worked a lot on that, and we have it in good shape, but we need that included in this. So with that, I'm going to say the I word. I think this needs to go to interim. I think we need to be able to sit down and get the parties that are involved, being the town and city clerks, as well as the county clerks, as well as WAM, and get all the issues ferreted out and be able to put on, to be able to facilitate the election and be able to administer it. With that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Langford. Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know you said the I word, but I'm wondering if you have the amendments ready, more or less, would it be possible to get something ready if we were to push this bill back till Friday?
Yes, Senator Boner, I was actually thinking the old working group and having people get together, but if you do have the amendments and we spend it, we're about to crash in our workload. And if we had a couple days, we're all here. It seems to be a decent concept. Would you guys be willing to work with sponsors and maybe any member of the committee that wishes to spend a couple days to come back to us on Friday with possibility? If you don't, you don't. It's okay. But it seems like such a waste to put it to interim when we're going to have slow motion here. You're going to be watching paint dry in no time at all. Is that a possibility?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Boner, I have proposed amendments right here. I think it'd be scary to do that on the fly right here today.
We're
with
not
this
doing
limited
it.
time,
I'm
but
not suggesting that.
Right, but
I'm
I would-
actually suggesting that you and then WHAM and the sponsors and any other legislators that wish to participate, sit down and work it out and come to us on Friday morning with a proposed slate of amendments.
we'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Ms. Lee, what do you think?
Mr. Chairman, I did testify to House corporations on this bill. Oh, Deborah Lee, Laramie County Clerk. Apologies.
Good to see you.
I did testify to House Corps on this bill and underscored that it needs to be harmonized with the election code. Absolutely, that is the bottom line. I also did state that there is great language in the election code on petitions.
Yeah.
And I think that should be folded over into this bill. There must be a form and format for petitions. The bill, as it's currently written, says you do your signature. It doesn't say you do your printed name. I mean, there's all sorts of little inconsistencies which make a difference when you're verifying a petition. As was mentioned, the county clerks are the ones with the voter registration data in WyoReg, and there is a module in that system for petition verification, and it works slick. But it is time consuming, particularly if there's a large number of petitions. Sometimes it can take our office a few weeks to vet a petition properly, depending on the number of signatures that are required.
Fair enough. Questions for Ms. Lee?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lee, can we harmonize within a day or two, or is this an interim topic in your opinion, please?
In my
But-
opinion, I think it would be an interim topic.
Thank you.
But I think I heard they'd try. All right. Anything else for the clerks? Thank you, guys. Appreciate you
you.
very much. You're loud and clear. Who else in the audience would like to testify on this bill? Ms. Herman? Welcome, Ms.
Thank you.
Herman.
Thank you. Committee Chairman, my name is Marguerite Herman for the League of Women Voters. And if you decide to go forward with this, and I defer to the clerks on all things election related, but I would just hope that you keep the 40% threshold for the petition. As was stated, it's a pretty serious deal to undo a duly elected official, but also connecting it with the size of the community of the town or city, or connecting it to the turnout is really relating, they're two unrelated, completely unrelated things. You're talking about someone who was elected to serve an entire community, regardless of, with a turnout, regardless of the size. And so you should have a significant number of dissatisfied citizens to seek a recall election. So it's whatever happened at the last election as far as numbers and that size is really unrelated to the decision to unseat someone. And so if you do go forward, or even if it is in committee, in interim, I just suggest 40% is, it's high and it's hard and it should be. And that would just be my input on that. Aside from the practical and the election, conducting the election itself, the clerks are wise.
Clerks are wise. Any questions for Ms. Herman? Thank you, Ms. Herman. Anybody else in the audience wish to testify? Anybody else in the audience? How about our online?
Mr.
testimony?
Chairman, there are two individuals who registered to speak on this bill online.
Let's get them both going.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Brown, and I'm actually from Evansville. I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to speak on this. I actually started a petition against our former Mayor Candace Machado, because she thought it'd be a good idea to put pride flags on our government building. And in our mission statement that we had with our petition, we had a reasoning why we wanted to do it. We had people print their names, we had them sign their names, and I think that what Representative Heiner forgot to touch on was that the history of Wyoming Statute 15-4-110 actually comes from the 1900s, and it's been around. This whole recall process has been around since pretty much our state has been a state. It's just that it changed from a commission style form of government to incorporated towns or mayoral forms. So that's why we're not able to use this statute anymore. And I think that we should stick with the original percentage number, because if anybody thinks that it's so easy to gather these signatures, I highly implore and encourage them to get out there and do it. We got up to 191 right before she resigned in November. We only would have needed 222 to hit the 25%. If we go to 40%, that's going to push us to 355, which even then, I still think that that's a high number. I think it should remain as 25%. As far as the money goes for elections, it's roughly about 1% of municipalities' budgets per year. And then another thing I would like to touch on is that small communities don't matter, because that's the partisan percentage. So it doesn't matter if you got 5 people in town or 500. If it's 25%, it should be 25%. The only amendment that I would strongly suggest too is that if there's a person being recalled, they have the chance to get back on the ballot, so that way the other 75% of voters can keep that person reinstated. because I don't think that people should be subjected to tyranny or have to deal with bad leadership for the entire time that they're in office. And that's all I kind of wanted to say, and I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Questions from the committee for Mr. Brown? Thank you, Mr. Brown. We appreciate your testimony. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
My name's Ryan Perry and I'm a Evansville resident, chairman and members of the committee. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the situation we experienced in Evansville last summer involving former Mayor Candace Machado. The issue arose when pride flags were placed on our town hall building without allowing the town council to hold a vote or pass a resolution accepting the donations from Casper Pride or a hearing from Evansville constituents. Regardless of where someone stands on that issue, process matters, transparency matters, following proper procedure matters. When elected officials sidestep established rules, it erodes public trust. In response, a friend and I began a petition to recall the mayor. That's when we discovered a serious flaw in the current statute. It applies only to commission forms of government. For towns like ours, it is essentially useless. Despite that obstacle, we worked hard. We gathered 360 signatures. Of those, 191 were verified registered voters, just short of the 222 required to reach the 25% threshold. We came within inches of success before the mayor left office in November. And let me be clear, gathering signatures is not easy. Many people work during the week, travel for work, or simply not home. The most realistic hours was between 5 and 9 p.m., and weekends are even difficult. We also heard repeatedly from residents who supported us but chose not to sign because they were told the statute would not apply anyways. Several said plainly, if it would have worked, I would have signed. Now, raising the thresholds from 25% to 40% makes recall virtually unattainable in small communities. 40% is not accountability, it is insulation. Recall is not meant to be easy, and it shouldn't be, but it must remain possible. Otherwise, it ceases to function as a check on government. Additionally, the timing restrictions need adjustment. Requiring official to serve 9 months before recall efforts can begin makes little sense in a 2-year term, and limiting the window before the next election further shrinks citizens' ability to act. In practical terms, that leaves only a narrow 9-month window to attempt removal. That defeats the purpose. I respectfully urge this committee to consider the following amendments. Restore the recall threshold to 25%. 40% is simply too high and out of reach for small municipalities. Expand the statute from municipal officer to apply to any elected official or officer. Accountability should not depend on the form of government. And allow the person being recalled the opportunity to appear on the ballot and let the remaining 75% of voters decide. The official should have 10 business days to file to appear on that ballot. Reduce the required time in office before recall eligibility from 9 months to 6 months, especially for 2-year terms. The people deserve a fair and workable process. Recall is not about politics. It is about accountability. It is about preserving trust between citizens and those whom they serve. Thank you for your time and for listening to the concerns of the people of Evansville. I appreciate the work you do for Wyoming and respectfully ask you to consider these amendments carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's see if there's any questions from the committee. Any questions from the committee? So my understanding is that there is a form of recall for all other offices. Is that correct? I think there is. So when you say extend it from municipal, it's only this particular form of municipal that doesn't have a recall mechanism, as I understand the law. So maybe we get some guidance there. But we really appreciate your testimony and thank you for dialing in today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else like to testify on the bill? So committee, we've got when is the last day for a bill to come out of committee of the whole from the second house? Monday. So it's Mondays for committee and Tuesdays committee of the whole probably. So it's at least theoretically possible that we could allow a working group to meet and see if they could come to some kind of resolution and take it up again on Friday. As I'm just throwing that out. Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, I have a caution. I respect the sponsor and what we're doing here, but I also hear from those who conduct our elections and
Yeah.
they are very concerned and we've got to get this right. Is this the exact time? Can we do it in this amount of time? I question whether we can. It's a good proposal, but I've also lived through a lot of town council meetings and they eventually get it worked out without a recall. We have some unique situations here though, but I'm cautious about let's do it right now.
Okay, thank you, Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, I think that we have Friday's meeting and according to the schedule, we would even have
Potentially
Mondays.
Monday, yeah.
So if the clerks have the amendments written out, I don't see why it'd be that difficult to go through them and figure out, a path forward here. So yeah, I certainly don't want to do it on the fly here today, right now, but I think there's an opportunity to further work the bill and got plenty of time. I think, Mr. Chairman, I think there's a grand total of 62 House bills that made it out of the chamber down the hall. So I think you're
Well,
right. We
none
do
of
have the
those will
time.
get heard in the Senate either. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Dockstader, that was just a joke, you guys.
Understood. Could we, if we do this route, put everybody around the table, can we clarify before we leave this room who will be around that table so that we make sure all parties are involved?
Certainly, we can do that, Senator Dockstader. And I don't mean to put Senator Boner. I heard Clerk Lee say she thought this would be much better in interim. I heard Ms. Langford say it would be better in interim, but they would work with a committee. So I'm Senator Landon, just to catch up. We've had all the public testimony on the recall bill. It is supported by WHAM. It's supported by the sponsors, of course, and members of the public. There's concern about the 40%, goes both ways, but the county clerks really don't think the bill is in a proper form right now and doesn't consider their obligations and requirements. So what we're proposing, we're kicking around here, is to have a working group meet because we literally have Friday and Monday for potential committee meetings. I think everybody will go to the table. The clerks might be a little bit more reluctant than everybody, but they're willing to do it. And I'm for personally, I'm for seeing if we can come up with something. I hope I was fair about that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I'm sorry that I had to be across the hall presenting to the representatives, colleagues over there. I appreciate all of that. And, if we go forward with something like this, I would like to make sure it's as good as we can make it. This is pretty heavy-handed stuff when you take and remove somebody who's been elected by the people. So 40%, yeah, high bar, but man, in my heart, it feels like it should be a high bar. That's a pretty drastic action. And lots of things that surrounded the issue in the little community that I used to represent. Senator Boner now represents the little town where I live. So lots of things to talk about with that particular incident. But yeah, I'm willing to work with the chairman and the rest of the committee to see if we can get this to a better place.
So let's try it. Nothing, that's the best. So I look to the sponsors, I look to WHAM, and I look for the county clerks to get together with any member of this committee that wants to, or member of the House committee, or any other member. Can we do that? Will that happen? Representative Heiner? You bet. So put your working together, maybe gather outside and come up with where you will have your first meeting, and good luck. Hopefully come back with one set of written amendments that everybody agrees on. That'd be great. Oh, and the Secretary of State's office certainly welcome your participation. Didn't mean any oversight.
Mr. Chairman, can we clarify who will be there at that meeting?
Actual persons,
Organizations.
I think it's going to be Wham, clerks, Secretary of State, sponsors of the bill, and any member of this committee that wishes to, or the House committee. Others are welcome at the sponsor's discretion. Is that okay? Did I catch everybody? All right. Good luck, Representative. Thank you very much. We got about 5 minutes. Let's take a 5-minute breather. Just let a room clear out, and you could do a quick trip down the hall, and we're going to have a confirmation hearing for Mr. Boswell.
So they are.
Hey. This is the Senate Corporations Committee. We're missing a couple of members, but Senator Steinmetz won't be joining us today, and then Senator Boner is just out for a minute. But we are here to take up the confirmation of the governor's appointment of Mr. Chris Boswell to the Wyoming Public Service Commission. And it's a true delight to be here. I think it involves administering an oath, and I think we'll just wait till do it before you speak, Mr. Boswell. And let's go to the governor's office first to introduce this candidate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I may find it gratifying. You're not going to make me take an oath before I testify, but we'll just let that go. All right? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, former Speaker.
All right, thank you again, members of the committee. And it truly is a privilege and an honor today to be before you, to introduce you to Christopher Boswell. I got to pick, who I got to introduce, and Chris came to the top of my list. I would think he might be a bit apprehensive about how I'm going to actually introduce him, but no worries, because I can tell you, I believe the governor has made a selection of someone who is uniquely and specifically, I think, very well adapted and trained and qualified to be a commissioner on the Public Service Commission. I think near and dear to your heart, Mr. Chairman, he's not an attorney. And so I think that bodes well, as again, even though I'm not sure I personally understand, that fear of attorneys, because gosh, some of my best friends are attorneys. But I have known Mr. Boswell, I believe, since 1995, when I came into the legislature. And it was, we were never in the same party, but he was always gracious, and I wouldn't admit it very often, but was often right. But we had a few as we both progressed through the legislature. I recall we had some interesting differences of opinion, but it was always just that, differences of opinion. It never got personal, and it was always remained professional. But one of my most memorable highlights was actually when I stopped in Green River many, many years ago, and Mr. Boswell was running a bar. I went to the bar, and we just sat and chatted. And, that was one of the things that I think is uniquely Wyoming, where members of an opposite party can just sit down and talk about what we think is important, and probably more so what we didn't think was important, and really enjoyed that time. And I think it set up a nice framework for the many years that we had together in the House. Mr. Boswell went on to be an agency head and was also UW Vice President for Government Affairs at the University of Wyoming. And one of his more recent activities is he actually stocked all the vending machines in Yellowstone National Park, which I mention only because to show you his diversity and his ability to adapt and his ability to learn. I think one of the last things that I would mention to you all is I have found him to be absolutely diligent in whatever effort he goes forward to. He has a strong sense of duty, whether that be to the House of Representatives, whether it be to a governor that he served with, and certainly to the duty to the people of Wyoming. And he is dedicated. Mr. Boswell could probably be sitting on a beach somewhere, enjoying time and not going through the rigorous many decisions that the PSC has to make. And he will be in for a rough ride. There are issues coming to them that they're thorny, and they're going to have to be issued out in terms of electric rates, in terms of behind the meter powering. These are all important things, and that he will be able to deal with. So with that, Mr. Chairman, once again, I bring you greetings from Governor Gordon, and I hope that you will confirm this appointee to the Public Service Commission.
Thank you, Director Luthi. We appreciate your being here today and our greetings to His Excellency. We appreciate his working with us on this nominee. Questions for Mr. Luthi? Thank you very much. Mr. Boswell, welcome. Mr. Luthi, I actually go a little bit further back with Mr. Boswell because we were both elected the same year, which was 2 years before you came in. And we've had a long run together and very much appreciate this candidate. Mr. Boswell, there's a formality that we have to administer an oath. It doesn't mean anything that we're administering an oath except for that is our procedure. So it's not like and the oath is very simple. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this committee will be the truth?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Boswell, the floor is yours for an opening statement.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, it's good to see you all again. My name is Chris Boswell. Last summer, I was on top of a ladder in front of my house with my clearing out gutters and reached the end of one that turned out to be a nest of hornets. And at that moment, someone walked by the house and said, "Hey," perhaps a greeting, and suggested that maybe I should think about applying to the governor's office for the 17 months that of the PSC position to complete the term of Mary Throne. And my first reaction was, if he wants me, he can ask me. And then I thought about another 5 minutes and thought, that's pretty doggone arrogant. And so I went ahead and applied, and I'm grateful to have been nominated by the governor. Mr. Chairman, I think, I won't be so arrogant to suggest that you know my background, but I'm a UW graduate, went into business in Green River. It was a tavern, actually, not a bar. The bar owners had all kinds of trouble with it in Green River City Council, so I changed the name of my place to a tavern. Did that for 20 years, enjoyed the first 10 years of it. The last 10 were a bit of a trial, but it was suggested that I run for the legislature and was privileged to serve House District 39 was elected 6 times and resigned partway through my 6th term to become Chief of Staff for Governor Friedenthal, which was an experience unlike any that I will ever have. Following that, I did a bit of legislative work for Governor Meade, and then was A&I director for 2.5 years, which I would not will on anyone. That is a really unique agency to try to run. Following that, I went to the University of Wyoming, which was actually recruited by Don Richards, now of the LSO, to consider going over there to be vice president for governmental affairs. I told Don no, but then the president called and I had to say yes. And did that work for a few years, worked in the president's office as the vice president for governmental and community affairs, and worked for 5 presidents, one after another. And at the arrival of the 6th, and it was certainly no knock on the 6th president, I said, I think I've had enough of traveling with presidents around the state and assuring legislators and residents of the state, no, this one's the one, and enough of that. I retired, was happily retired, and as Mr. Luthi felt the need to mention, among my various jobs over the past 5 years, I did work in Yellowstone, and there is nothing better than waking up every day in Yellowstone. It is a remarkable experience, even though you're waking up in a dorm and you've got a 62-year-old roommate across the way. That's a learning experience. Enough of that, Mr. Chairman. I am very fortunate to be able to work with the people that I work with at the Public Service Commission. do not have a background in economics or finance or the law. And I am at a bit of a disadvantage not having that background, but I'm pleased to be able to bring that career background to the Public Service Commission for this brief time that I am participating there. And I'm happy to answer questions or offer thoughts. I'm not sure where you might want to take this, Mr. Chairman, but perhaps it's time for me to end this part of my session with you.
Mr. Chairman, may I be excused just for other duties, but
Well, you sure he's going to be okay?
if anyone's going to be okay, it's Chris.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luthi. And I just want to say this, for everybody that's listening, this is part of our process. This is about the separation of the branches and to be able to, for the Senate to be able to confirm the governor's appointments is a neat way that we work together. And these confirmation hearings are part of that process. Mr. Luthi, thanks for being part of our process today. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Again, best wishes to His Excellency. Committee, any questions for Mr. Boswell? Senator Landon.
Mr. Boswell, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. My question was going to be, what were you thinking? But it's more to ask you your observations thus far, and what do you think's on the horizon? What are the bigs that we're going to be concerned with that will land here in the Corporations Committee, as well as on your desk at the PSC?
Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Landon, I think the overriding element of what I've learned is how quickly things change in the world of utilities and power and national priorities and the rest. Just last night, the president in his State of the State encouraged data centers to bring their own power. And that's an interesting concept. There's certainly nothing to prevent that in state law. The devil's in the details, as always. Are those data centers going to hook into the grid? And what will their relationship be with the grid as we go forward? But the overriding element is how much things change and how quickly things change. Wind comes, wind goes. Solar probably comes. I assume solar stays. The notion of coal's acceptability to the market is it's just staggering how that swings back and forth from presidential administration to administration, and the importance of in some fashion working with those changes. It's inevitable. And I'm very encouraged by the folks that I work with at the Public Service Commission in terms of their backgrounds, their breadth of knowledge, and these are very calm, deliberative people, and that's probably a good thing. I'm perhaps a little less calm and less famous for being deliberative, but those folks have seen a lot, and it's really helpful to tap into their experience in circumstances like this. How's that for a long answer to a short question, Senator?
Very well done.
Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Boswell, thank you. Appreciate it. My experience with you has been very positive. During your days, your tenure with the University of Wyoming Vice President of Government Affairs, I brought a very specific concern to you, which you took the time to take all the way into the Board of Trustees. And we found a solution there, and I appreciate that. Still remember it to this day. But I found myself immersed in the Public Service Commission after running legislation and tracking it all the way through the process. It's a very difficult thing. There are people like me pushing for one angle of energy use, and it's your job to find a balance and keep people like me and others balanced and well-behaved in our efforts to try to save Wyoming's traditional energy. Your thoughts on finding that balance, Mr. Boswell?
Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, I try to remind myself that the Public Service Commission doesn't spend a lot of time setting policy. setting state energy policy. We work within the law as it exists, but at the same time, there's an inevitable push and pull in these circumstances. I mean, this committee may consider a bill in the coming days, having to, or may not consider a bill going back a few years to, I guess it was Senate File 200. Now I can't remember whether it was a House or a Senate file. And my concern, candidly, with that bill is the impact on ratepayers, and when the state dictates certain elements of energy policy or certain responses to energy, I am mindful of whether that impacts all of the consumers, industrial consumers, residential consumers, and I keep that in mind as we look at these at proposals over the years, and that may eventually lead to the Public Service Commission in one form or another. I am happy to offer opinions on energy, but honestly, how much of those opinions on energy have a role in my activities on the Public Service Commission? I'm less certain that my opinions would really play much of a role in our decision making. Our work tends to be at a slightly different angle than picking as has been heard so often this session, picking winners and losers. I don't think we really do that. And I hope I've been responsive to your question, Senator.
One follow-up, please.
Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Boswell, the southern part of the area where I live, been challenged with incredibly high power rates. And I feel for them. I know it's probably costs them twice as much to turn on the light than it does for me in my home area. Where does the Public Service Commission step in and try to find balance with that? People are trying to run their businesses, their farms, their ag operations, just simply run their households in the face of high rates. Your thoughts?
Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, candidly, I appreciate the work of the Office of the Consumer Advocate, which is, for all intents and purposes, independent of the Public Service Commission. It shows up in our budget, but that's something that probably needs to change going forward. That you really do have an able advocate arm in the Office of the Consumer Advocate, and what those arguments bring to rate cases. There's candidly an element of I don't want to forecast anything, but there's an inevitability to energy prices that seems forthcoming, given the demand for energy. The difference between the 50 miles or 60 miles between northern Lincoln County and southern Lincoln County is, I'm going to suggest it doesn't make much sense, but it is a reality of this world of monopolies, this world of multi-state power. What do I want to say? Well, I'll just say it simply: companies, providers, and it has been a challenge for me. The day after is today, Wednesday. Tomorrow, we will have at an open meeting before the Public Service Commission, one natural gas provider coming in for a pass-along rate increase, and 5 minutes later, another provider from a different part of the state coming through for a natural gas pass-along decrease in prices. And one of the questions I'm going to ask, and I've already warned the staff of this, could somebody care to describe for me the mechanics of why we are seeing that kind of a chain and that kind of a difference? It's a intensely complicated world of the providing of power or natural gas, which will be the case, I believe, tomorrow. And And I'm sad to say that it's been described to me more than once since my arrival in October at the Public Service Commission that it takes a good 2 years to really begin to get a good grasp on what's going on with energy and utility regulation in Wyoming. And my term will end after 17 months. So my short answer is I may not get to the point of understanding and being able to justify the difference between the rates in northern and southern Lincoln County. I'm sure the utilities that provide it would attempt to offer an explanation. That's always a challenge when you're sitting in the hearing room and hearing those explanations. But it's reasonable to ask questions, and I do enjoy challenging those folks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Boswell, I think I could go down and do a lot of kind of inside baseball with you and things like that, but fair to say in the big picture of things, Wyoming has some huge challenges, as does the entire country. But we are not part of a transmission organization, as many other places in the country are. Thinking about that issue as we move forward is going to be part of it. The amount of competition that we permit in our landscape will be another big challenge that we'll all be involved in. We've seen bills this session, small solar installations. That's a form of competition. There's also issues about third-party generation, which is, very big, very important to our industrial and resource extraction base in Wyoming. And they're kind of tired of waiting for us to resolve that. And, the commission, none of this is going to occur as a result of a docket on your plate, but you're going to have to support this committee and the legislature as we wrestle through those. And I was very impressed when we had a Senator Boner's transmission bill the other day. You were the one that came to testify on that bill, and I appreciated it very much. And I think that maybe you are perhaps one of your strong suits is you're more tuned into the process and the balance of players than your colleagues who are by definition insulated and should be insulated. I think that'll be a good tool that you will bring to them, and I look forward to working with you on that. The challenges are great ahead. I think you're up to the task, actually. So what we should do now is to allow for other public comment, and then the chair will entertain a motion on your nomination. And so with that, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to testify on this nomination? Mr. Obermuller, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Pete Obermuller, President of the Petroleum Association of Wyoming. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Boswell is a learned man and a serious person and is up to the task, and we support his nomination. That being said, Mr. Chairman, just to echo briefly what you said, I think we all know that we have pretty big challenges with respect to access to reliable power in Wyoming. It is somewhat shocking to say that in 2026.
Shocking.
Yeah, that right, no pun intended, that is the case, that we are resource constrained from a power perspective. And that is not just about the tomorrow's problem of powering hyperscale and data centers. It's today's problem of powering industrial projects that are ready to go or want to be ready to go right now. And Mr. Chairman, I spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill, spent a lot of political capital on the idea of universal service, both for power providers and also telecommunications. I believe in that for rural America and rural Wyoming. But Mr. Chairman, I fear that the tools that have gotten us to where we are today are not the tools that we need going forward, and that we need a commission that is willing to take hard decisions and be the referee when we need them to be the referee in a timely fashion. You mentioned third-party generation. The commission has a rule in front of them. we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And we need them to act. And I think Mr. Boswell will help drive that forward. But we're in a challenging time as it relates to access to power. And I appreciate their work over there. One last thing, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
It's a little bit ancillary, so I beg your indulgence.
You got it.
Just going to ask the four of you to stand firm on the Senate position on the PSC's docket management system. In the budget, we need that in order to be able to see what utilities are doing and other filings so that we can be engaged. Without it, we cannot support our cause of trying to reduce power rates. I know you know that, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say it publicly that's very important to us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Obermueller. Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Obermueller, just a quick question. We're hearing a narrative a lot these days that government shouldn't be involved in any of this. But I'm just curious about your thoughts of standing up the appropriate amount of power that we're going to need going forward. It feels like to me that's going to have to be public and private partnerships and any other method. Do you care to comment for me on that? I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Mr. Obermueller.
Can we stand up additional power out there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Landon. Yeah, it is going to take a lot of creative work on behalf of the power providers and the customers that need it. Particularly as it relates to the large data centers that have been on everybody's mind, and that the president has mentioned in bringing their own power. Mr. Boswell mentioned that there's nothing to prevent that in law today. That is true so far as it goes. I think there's a lot more that we can do to help facilitate the kind of creativity that you're suggesting. But it takes a willingness on the part of both sides to get something done here too. And in some cases, this is just my personal view, the PSC has often tried to operate under a consensus model, which I appreciate. We try to do that in Wyoming a lot, and usually it works. But sometimes we need an agency to be a referee, and we need them to be willing to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Obermueller, I think you might be making reference to the fact that Rocky Mountain Power's rate proceedings have overwhelmingly been settlements. Maybe that's not where you're going, but that has been of concern to me. That it seems to be we get parties together, including members of your organization, but I sometimes think the whole of Wyoming is left out in that process a bit. That's a personal opinion to me, and maybe a little bit far down the road. Your point about the special revenue funds that are the PSC's own funds that could be used to do this docket management system, supported out of the Senate, actually supported more broadly for all agencies. I'm not exactly sure where that stands in the House, but it seems like that one's a no-brainer. And very much appreciate you bringing that up. Really appreciate everything about it. The experience around the state of being able to get power to a certain place in a timely manner without enormous costs is very spotty, and it depends on the company. It's something we just have to get addressed. It is serious, and it's not just data centers. It's not at all. It's ordinary expansions of ordinary businesses that are already in our communities. So, Mr. Obermueller, I greatly appreciate your testimony. Anything else you want to add?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to testify? How about an intern? Can we have an intern testify? Mr. Keene says, no, 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 no. Is there anybody online that would like to testify? Okay, committee, I think we've heard the testimony. We've had very great advocacy from the governor's office. Would there be the chair?
Move to approve Mr. Boswell, if that's what you're looking for, Mr. Chair.
You bet. And I think the motion is to forward the name of Christopher Boswell to the entire Senate for confirmation as Public Service Commissioner.
I think that's what Senator Dockstader meant. I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Let's have a roll call on that motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote to nominate or move Commissioner Boswell to the Senate confirmation. Senator Boner?
Aye.
Senator Dockstader?
Aye.
Senator Landon?
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz?
Excused?
Chairman Case?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that's 5 aye, 1 excused.
And I'm willing to leave that vote open because Senator Steinmetz has worked with the commission during the interim. I don't think it was necessarily tied into anything that was said today or not. Anybody want to challenge me on that one? I think it'd be nice if we cast a unanimous aye.
I'm happy to support that.
Yeah, so, and just for the interns, this is part of the process. This is how we collaborate with our friends in the executive branch. There's this tension and separation. Most of the time, it goes exactly like this. It's respectful and people don't have issues with nominees. It is a safety valve in case there is a different situation, but that doesn't happen very often. We really do get along most of the time. And the governor makes great appointments, and he did today. Thank you. Thanks to all who participated. We'll wait to see what happens with that working group on about Friday, okay? So stand by. We might as well notice it to be continued. There is a couple bills out there that haven't been assigned. I don't know if we could get them or not. We'll see.
Next door working.
Okay.